The Office of the CTO inside of Autodesk really has three roles. In a sense, we're taking on risk that other parts of the organization shouldn't take on. And those three roles really are go out and explore caves that people haven't been in, exploit interesting rocks that we find there, kind of look for interesting new resources, and then come back and explain those to the rest of our organization, also to our customers and our partners, and maybe try to get a sense of what's coming over the next hill.
We see our job as really understanding where the world is going, where design is going, and really taking some of the risk to help you move forward and create competitive separation for yourselves.
What if, what if, what if? That's the provocative question that will drive every scientific discovery and every technological innovation.
It's about having the right kind of creative people who can really ask those provocative questions, answer those provocative questions, work with teams to help forge those provocative questions into something that will really demonstrate a result.
What does it mean when not only we have a sea of computation devices, but this digital manufacturing and machine learning, two other big megatrends, slam into each other at full speed?
We want to find partners that we really want to experiment with, that are on the same page, that want to wonder as well. So we found Bandito Brothers. They
really were putting their life on the line, building these epic cars for Fast and Furious and for Need for Speed, and they were doing all this stuff, and they were doing it all like by laying stuff out on the ground and welding it all together, and and then telling stories.
We really pushed the envelope to it. I mean, we're at its absolute limit, terminal velocity. In order to go farther, we either needed to have a lot more science, big data, a lot of things to help us make it happen, or take risks that were not acceptable.
It was when we met Mickey and all the doors within Autodesk that he opened that we really got excited, and we saw the future.
We ultimately came around to this idea of what if three kids in a dorm room could start a car company? Because a few years ago, three kids in a dorm room could start a social network and it changed the world. But a car company, that's really serious. So far, over 100 years, we've only had a few that have sort of survived the test of time. But we're starting to see signals that maybe that's not the case. Could we build a video game? And could we actually drive it, have a whole bunch of people drive a car, but have all the sensors for stresses and things like that actually be in the games? And we thought that would be interesting because it would let us simulate stuff, I think, a little more cost effectively than actually building a car and going into the desert. Concurrently, we built a car and we went into the desert. And for that one, we had some of our teammates, many of them interns and students, order stuff online, find all sorts of sensors, and we drove the car to break-in, basically. We drove it to failure. This next step is sort of, now let's pull it in and actually see if we could start evolving something and see if we could get radical reduction in weight, but a radical increase in performance.
This chassis was unveiled just the other day. That's the first time in the history of the world that anybody has shown a car designed and engineered by artificial intelligence. That's an incredible statement to make.
The reason they're world records is because they haven't been done before, right? If it had been done before, it's already a record. So it's always about the impossible and being possible.
You have never been more powerful as a designer. You are about to enter a whole new world of control and power over your creativity as a designer.
This question of what is that future of making things, it opens that door in every industry, in every product, and in every person inside Autodesk. I believe this is probably the single most important thing we could be asking.
The world is going to open up so many wonderful possibilities that are all going to start with just asking those questions.
If you take away one thing from this, it's not so much about the individual projects. It's not that robots can communicate with each other. That's a cool thing to know. The thing to think about is you want to ask those provocative questions. You want to take some risk, you want to look forward, and you want to be a market shaper. You want to think about how I can change things. And you can only do that by experimenting and asking those questions. You can't do that by sitting back and watching what everybody else does. You've got to get in the game and take some action yourself. So the key point is be a risk taker, be provocative, and figure out how to shape your markets.